Sunday, December 3rd, live from the Onnit Academy in beautiful Austin, Texas, EBI 14, The Absolutes, featuring EBI Absolute Champion Gordon Ryan. Since April of 2016, almost a year and a half, Gordon Ryan has completely dominated the sub-only game, and his only knock was that he hasn't had that same domination in the point game. Well, guess what? 2017 ADCC just passed in Finland, and Gordon Ryan came back with a gold medal, submitting grappling legends like Keenan Cornelius, Romulo Barao, and Craig Jones.
You drove across this way. Pull your right elbow.
My name is Gordon Ryan. I held 3 EBI titles, welterweight, middleweight, and absolute. This will be my first title defense. I'm a black belt under Gary Tonin and John Danaher. I've been training 6.5 years at Renzo Gracie Academy and Brunswick Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
So his head goes lower than yours.
The sport's changed in a lot of ways. I feel like the level since I first started was drastically lower than it is right now. And the biggest thing that you've seen change over the past couple of years is the new addition of leg locks into competition. Before, when I first started training, even they were kind of looked at as tricks or cheating, or they were really frowned upon when I first started training, and now everyone accepts them a little bit more and more as we go on, to be some of the most dangerous submissions in the sport. And even if people don't like them, they still have to accept that this is part of jiu-jitsu now. So. Since the last EBI, I've just been training to get better. For me, it's always competition after competition, so it's always I'm either competing or I'm getting ready to compete. So it's just a little bit of traveling here and there. Whenever I travel to compete, I teach privates, I teach seminars, things like that, but mostly just being stuck in the blue basement and getting better. So I competed against Rustam in the EBI 6. And I managed to submit him in overtime and then escaped, so I won that. That was in the finals. I studied a lot of tape on Rustam going into ADCC because that's a rule set where he's much better at than EBI, and I felt like if I had to compete against him at ADCC, it was going to be a problem. So I studied a lot of Rustam's tape, and I'm confident that I'll be able to submit him in regulation this time versus in overtime.
The first absolute champion at EBI 6.
I initially started lifting because I wanted to be the same size as the people I competed against. I was always a little bit bigger than Gary, but still in Gary's weight class, so I'd always have to go up in weight, and I was small. I was small for those weight classes, so I wanted to gain weight initially. And then after I started lifting, I decided that I wanted to be a bodybuilder instead. But then I realized I have to eat really clean to be a bodybuilder, so now I'm just pursuing my career in sumo wrestling. Competing at EBI 6 was really the breakout tournament for me. No one really knew who I was before then. I had just got my black belt, and I was winning a lot of things at purple belt and brown belt, but more so at the local levels. So coming in and beating all of the ADCC and world champions in EBI 6, especially on a week's notice, was big for me. So the EBI 6 was really the turning point where I went from just a local guy to one of the top level competitors. I learned a lot from EBI, working the overtime positions. With EBI and other sub-only tournaments, it's always trying to spend the most time that you can in places that lead to submission. And EBI specifically working a lot of the armbar offense and defense and back offense and defense, a lot of the overtime rounds and planning technically and tactically for those. I think people choose the back position more than the armbar position is just because it's easier to control someone from the back, especially with a figure 4. If you lock a body triangle, it's much easier to control the hips and torso than it is with an armbar. You only have control of the limb. And a lot of times what you see with armbars, people just bridge on top right away. And once someone's on top of you in an armbar and they have their hands still locked together, it's very hard to maintain control for any amount of time. So I feel comfortable competing against the heavier guys. I think that the style of my jiu-jitsu, a lot of off-balancing and going up and down a lot, is very tiresome to much bigger people than me. So I think that I have a speed advantage, and I think that the game plan that I have going into a competition with a bunch of heavyweights suits me better than competing against people smaller, because everyone at lower weight classes are all just as fast as me. They can go up and down just as fast as I can. And when I go with the heavyweights, a lot of them are still stronger than me, but moving around them versus trying to move them is where I take my advantage. It means a lot for me, especially to keep a title like EBI, absolute champion. Going into EBI 6, like I said before, was something that was a turning point in my career. So to maintain the absolute belt is something big for me. Everyone considers the absolute champion to be the main guy. So to stay absolute champion means a lot. Yeah, at EBI 14, you can expect to see total domination, hopefully. Our team has been on a roll where we've been typically submitting all 4 opponents in regulation, and I just plan to keep that streak up. There's a lot of bigger guys in my division, a lot of experienced guys, a lot of world champions, but I'm confident I'm going to go in and submit everybody in regulation. As an athlete, competing on UFC Fight Pass is obviously cool. Not many people get to compete on UFC Fight Pass, especially grapplers. I'm hoping that more and more of these competitions start to branch out into the MMA culture. So we have more fans for MMA coming into and watching all these grappling events. The reason I do jiu-jitsu is because I watched the UFC one day, and I've always been like an athlete. I've always been interested in wrestling and specifically being able to dominate other humans with my own body. I watched the UFC once, and it was like a Horace Gracie tribute, where it was like 1993, like one of the first UFCs, and I was like, all right, well, that's what I'm going to do one day. And then I just stumbled across a jiu-jitsu school, and I started training, and I loved it. So the reason why I do jiu-jitsu is because when I was like a 6-year-old kid, I was just like, all right, I want to do that as a career. And then the reason why I keep doing it is because I started jiu-jitsu and fell in love with it.
Anything else you want to say?
You guys are fucked.
Rustam, the Russian Bear, Chsiev.
In EBI 6, this monster threw everybody around and got to the finals, where he fell a little short against Gordon Ryan.
Rustam's has had enough of that, so get out of here, sir.
Although he's from Russia, Rustam Chsiev has dominated the U.S. grappling scene for many, many years, winning multiple Naga and Grappler's Quest belts.
All right, we are in the final seconds here of regulation. And that is a wrap. We are headed to overtime.
In practically all of Rustam's fights, he's always on top. In the whole grappling world, he is probably the most dominant wrestler. Just picking up and slamming, always on top, has tremendous passing, and his finishing skills are getting better.
North-south is Chsiev facing out here, trying to frame something up. What does Ln need to worry about here? North-south choke?
Oh yeah, definitely. The north-south choke is there. He's got the arm in as well. So there's a little bit of...
There it is, it's done! Rustam Chsiev taps out Amir Alam.
Rustam Chsiev is back to take what he thinks is his, that EBI absolute belt.
I mean, this might be something where he just wants to hold on and secure this win.
Oh, flatten him out.
He's still going for it, though. He lost the hook.
He's got the over-under.
Chsiev is out. Wow.
When people follow me, it's a good promotion. But really, what I want to tell you, I don't care, because I don't know, like, I don't feel like, I'm trying to bring myself something, but just want to go out there and just compete, That's it. That's my goal, I don't feel like I'll be like somewhere or something in TV. Really, I don't care.
He's going for an arm crusher.
Oh, he might have something here. The arm is free. The clinch, the arm clinch is, wow.
Gordon's doing a great job of keeping that right arm tucked.
Oh, he might have it.
Almost free.
Oh, can he get the it's done?
Until you get in EBI, you really don't understand how important it is to practice your rear naked chokes and your arm bars. Because those EBI overtime rounds, that's what it's all about. It's all about who is the best at back control and who is the best at the arm bar position, offensively and defensively. And Rustam Chsiev was one of those guys that came in, he thought he had it on lock, but now he realizes that if you're going to be a top EBI competitor, you have to practice arm bars and rear naked chokes on the daily. EBI 11 veteran Marcel Goncalves comes into EBI 14, the absolutes, as the smallest competitor, but he may have the biggest heart.
My name is Marcel Goncalves. I've been training Jiu-Jitsu for around 15 years. I'm Cyborg's first black belt. I started Jiu-Jitsu in Campo Grande, Mato Grosso do Sul, in the region of Pantanal. When we started, there wasn't a lot of black belts, so I'm one of the first black belts to come out of that area. I always been involved with martial arts, and then I remember when I used to do judo, I already had interest for submissions. Like when we're doing the judo positions, my sensei would tell me like, oh, don't do this movement, it's dangerous, this and that. So when I grew up and then I found out a couple of friends were training jiu-jitsu, I started like training with them, and since then I think I train every day of my life. Okay. Almost every day. I dedicate my life to this mission of like spread jiu-jitsu and be able to show how jiu-jitsu changed my life and it can change other people's life as well. I love training jiu-jitsu. I have to actually change my life around so I can, so I don't train so much. I train jiu-jitsu as much as I can, as much as my body can handle. At some point, this past years, I stopped doing everything MMA and working out just to dedicate and think that I can get better myself at jiu-jitsu. I just now got back at working out and integrating that with jiu-jitsu again, with a better plan of how I can get better at this. So, for example, today we had class in the morning. We go home, eat, come back here to the beach, set up the mats, see who's up there wanted to get some rolls here in Naples, beautiful place, and then back to train again. Then we're going, I have to teach, I have kids class, and I'm going to teach class, and then train at night again. So just my life involves jiu-jitsu. My family, my wife trains jiu-jitsu, my son trains jiu-jitsu, everything it's about jiu-jitsu. 2 minutes overtime. I really perform well at the absolute. I have quite a few titles of absolute divisions, so I'm very excited to compete at the absolute this time. I love the idea. I love that we have this format set. Every time that I'm getting ready, that I'm training for, I appreciate even more the system and understand and learn more with the system. I think it's great to train in the specific positions, to learn how to defend, and it's a good way to determine and give you the opportunity to create a situation where we will occur a submission, that we can make something happen. Very excited to do it again and prove that I got better. It's hard to discuss submission, say, oh, I'm a submission guy. I think everybody wants a submission. It's just who can have the will to implement that at that time. I love submissions and I want to score a lot of submissions on my matches. The position there, the back and the armbar, it's up to everyone's I think they choose the back because they train more the back and they feel like they have a better control in the back. But I train both positions and I love the armbar and I love the back. So I'll prepare myself to be ready to use both if I need to. I perform better at absolute. Sometimes a lot of people underestimate my game because of my size, and that's when I can perform better. So I hope the opponents there wanted to come take a crack at me so I can use my best style to counter-attack their aggression towards me. I think in the absolute division, you definitely had to be sharper because there's stronger opponents and you don't want to mistake and end up in a position where you can get hurt. So the game has to be like tighter, and I'm a great counter-attack player. So just like for me, I like the absolute better because of that reason. Give a reason for your opponent to underestimate you and attack you plays very well with my game. The EBI title and a great performance at the EBI will bring you recognition, and that by itself will open doors for you to display your work as a jiu-jitsu, as a grappler, athlete. I realized that my mindset of like I wasn't like thinking about how really to do it. This time I'm definitely more secure, and I'm coming to take down the king. I'm coming to get the crown of EBI and get the recognition I deserve. I've been in this sport for a long time, and I believe that I'm great at this, so I just have to keep coming. I always win with persistence, and my time will come.
Fresh off his outstanding performance at the 2017 ADCC World Championships, Craig Jones brings that momentum to EBI.
And I usually don't respect that grip. Yeah, it's easy. Because it usually is like no gi. Like long arms. Yeah. No, it's deep.
I'm Craig Jones. I'm a black belt under Lachlan Giles, and I've been training about 12 years now, training in Melbourne, Australia. Really professional grappling, like whatsoever. It wasn't even a career path, but now, especially in the last few years, and especially with no-gi, now you can really make a living as a full-time competitor. You don't even really need to teach full-time to support yourself anymore with the amount of competitions offering cash prizes and the high-level sponsorships you can get. I competed at EBI 11, which was the welterweights. First round I had Nathan Orchard, which was a rematch. He'd beaten me about 12 months previous, and I was able to land a heel hook on him. Second round I fought Dara O'Connell, and I armbarred him, but there was a bit of confusion there, so we had to start again. But luckily I was able to heel hook him anyway later on in the match. And then in the third round I lost to Wagner Hosho. We had like a super long match, a super long overtime match, which was, as you guys see, he's a nightmare with the back control. I think I prefer the idea of fighting 170, but I actually think I'd do better against like bigger, stronger, slower opponents. But like I like the idea of fighting the small guys. But I mean the obvious challenge is just fighting huge guys, especially guys like Rustam. That guy's terrifying. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be tough. I mean, it's tough to submit a guy within a 10-minute period of a similar weight division, let alone someone much bigger. So that's really just the obstacle, to see if your style of jiu-jitsu is effective against heavier opponents. A lot of guys are very effective in their weight division, but the minute you put them against a bigger guy, they really stumble. Like if I'm in overtime, I didn't mean to get that. Oh, it sucks. It sucks. It's the worst thing to train for too. It's the most painful, horrible training around. But like, yeah, I really don't want to go to overtime. Like, I mean, a lot of guys won't say that on camera, but I really don't want to go to overtime. It's horrible. Yeah, it's quite grueling, but yeah, it's just part of the game. Like, it's part of the rule set. We want to get a finish, I guess, for sports entertainment purposes. So yeah, I think it's the best way to do it is two guys having a bit of a stalemate. Back's definitely better for ride time. I would always go the back generally because I think some guys aren't going to tap to an armbar. Like you guys have seen, the arm get fully hyperextended, and I think if you're willing to tough it out, you'll still hitchhiker out of an armbar and take a few pops along the way. But with the back, you've always got the option to go to the armbar. So the back's definitely a better option, but strategically, some guys will pick the arm, like with Gio and Eddie Cummings. I think it's more strategy. I think it's more what submissions you're looking for, what positions you're looking for. I think there are a lot of positions and submissions that are going to work on guys your own size. But when it comes to fighting bigger opponents, you're really limited in your attacks. And a lot of them are going to revolve around taking the back to finish someone. It's going to be very hard to finish bigger guys when you're like keeping side control or knee right or mount. I think you always want to take the path to the back. I just like competing, really. I like testing myself against high-level guys, and I guess I stick in the game now because I'm coming from Australia, like a very small jiu-jitsu scene. I like the idea of still being able to compete at a high level against the world, essentially coming from a smaller scene. I really like that challenge. At the start of the year, I might have been quite nervous to fight those famous guys, but now I feel quite comfortable throwing myself into the mix with them. So I'll do IBJJF no-gi worlds at the end of the year, but like if I have to choose between a IBJJF tournament and a cash tournament, I'll definitely look for the cash events. Who's going to turn down 20 grand? I mean, in terms of the way I approach the tournaments, getting submissions within regulation. So like in that respect, I guess I'm after the money, but that belt's pretty sweet. I can't let Gordon have a fourth one.
Fresh off his 2017 ADCC appearance and representing Salo Ribeiro, in steps in Casey Elenberg.
So jiu-jitsu to me, I guess, coming from wrestling and MMA and a combat tour, frontline infantry, I lost 13 friends, KIA, much wounded. I've seen the duality of warfare, and we glorify it in our pulp culture, and we live it every day. And at the end of the day, violence is real. What intrigued me the most about jiu-jitsu is the fact that if I needed to detain somebody without creating harm, I could. If I needed to inflict damage to end the life, I could. I think it's the best too for evading in all the framework and for women, for self-defense and domestic violence. My interesting about combat and warfare is like I always had that duality of why do we fight as human beings and in society. I feel like in modern society nowadays, because there is no place that you can go pilgrimage your flag and call this free land, because everything's so first world nation and developed, like we need that more. We need to have that ability to express ourselves, exert. I think Keenan Cornelius says it very well, how animals in nature fight and they go about their business. They're not killing, but that's just part of nature, letting out those energy, learning boundaries, expressing yourself, learning to communicate. And we don't have that nowadays, and I feel like we get shut down and we hide that, and then technology, all that. There's just such a lack of personal understanding and really who you are as individuals. And we live behind keyboards now, and fear, and the ability not to want to try new things. It kills my soul every day. And I'm 31 now, and I just see more and more people getting sucked into the not doing, the things in your heart that fulfill you in life, and it's just so short. And I just know a lot of people that, sacrifice their life to have the ability to go out and chase your passion. And by me chasing my passion versus chasing, dollars or college degrees and prestige and power, I've met so many more people in my life. I've traveled the world. I know this is just the start. I want to start my school up in LA here in the next year or two and really, help out with homeless and PTSD veterans and do more social work and nonprofit. Because at the end of the day, making money, like, if you're not doing it for others, like, what's the point? Everything's been coming together in the last year. I won the ADCC West Coast Trials. I was just out in Finland. I lost referee's decision to Tom DeBlas, great guy, great grappler. I'll be looking forward to going against a couple of his guys here, Yeah, I won Master World this year, and I won the Pan Americans adult brown belt, and I took third in the adult open weight and third in my weight. I'm a 3-time no-gi world champion, 2 at purple, 1 at brown belt, all submissions. Placing in the open weight, several times, gi and no-gi pan champion. Pretty much I've won every major tournament besides Europeans and worlds in the gi. So I've done pans, I've done master worlds, no-gi pan champ and no-gi world champion. And now I'm just ready to, keep journeying, try to get that black belt, and try to become one of America's truly best, jiu-jitsu practitioners and really pioneer professional jiu-jitsu, American jiu-jitsu. You have to view jiu-jitsu as a professional sport. I mean, I lived on a sailboat for a year out here, and now I've been living in an RV for 2.5 years, gypsying. And I live off my VA disability and doing privates and just getting by. And I train 20+ hours a week, minimal, every day. Even when I'm hurt and not feeling good, and if I'm depressed, no matter what, I have to train. And I have to come in knowing that I'm not even gonna get compensated for my training or my work. I just come in because I love it. I'll never forget Tim Hartung was an Olympian wrestler who came in high school, and we would ask him about, mental preparation for the Olympics and what are you doing? Like, what are you doing to calm your nerves before the big fights? And he would always go back to his training and how much he put into his training and reaffirmed in his training. Because at the end of the day, that's all you can control is your own personal choices, your actions. Am I going to bed on time? Am I waking up early enough to make those, third and fourth workouts in the day? Am I gonna go run right now when I'm hurt and I'm seeing world champions go home and rest? Yeah, I'm gonna do the extra workouts because I feel like if you want to reach that prestige and really be, the example and that true leader, like you got to set it out for yourself. No one's gonna walk with you. They're gonna follow you once you set that path. We've been walking the same path too long that it's just so beat out and worn out. I think it's time to start creating new pathways, just in society and in jiu-jitsu and in our culture here in America. So. It's like the evolution of warfare. At first we're using sticks and then rocks, and all of a sudden I got a bow and arrow, and now this guy's got a gun, and right now, until we have guns, that's superior. But I feel like educating yourself in leg locks and knowing it and understanding it is a practical technique gives you that tool to fight back properly. So I don't think it's being at a disadvantage, because I know some guys that don't know traditional jiu-jitsu and they don't know traditional armbar and angling and hit work, and that can be a tool in itself. So I think the more diversified, the more tools on your belt. I'm not saying it's making you a better carpenter, because the guy who's swinging his hammer probably more at the end of the day is going to be the better carpenter than just having the most tools. So I think it's that balance of working hard but being intellectually savvy to what jiu-jitsu is, and then tweaking it to your body, your psyche, and just making it your own, because jiu-jitsu is for everybody. It's gonna be a really mixture of grappling and submission grappling, jiu-jitsu. It's awesome. I've trained with a lot of these guys. I follow a lot of these guys that are at this tournament, and it's just an honor to be part of the EBI, the Eddie Bravo Invitational, 14th.
10th Planet qualifier winner Patrick Donabedian makes his EBI debut.
I'm Patrick Donabedian, and I train out of 10th Planet HQ in Los Angeles, California, under Master Eddie Bravo.
All right, let's hit.
So I had to go through 4, I'd say, of the toughest guys. I'm honored, and I hold that weight on my shoulders to go represent all those guys at EBI 14 in Austin on December 3rd. I can't wait.
Watch it, Brian. Watch the elevation.
Being a professional athlete, competing, especially in a combat sport, you have to be so selfish. I have to take time away from my girlfriend, from my parents, from my sister, from my 95-year-old grandfather. This is all precious time that I'm not going to get back. And as well as my coaches, I'm just leeching information and knowledge of all these people that I train with. And yeah, I give it back, but at the end of the day, this is an individual sport. And for this to really have a payoff where I reflect back when my body's broken down and I can't do it anymore, I want to have some titles and trophies on the mantle. So the payoff is, it's everything we act like it's not. It's validation. It's the applause and approbation of our peers. You know, not enough guys are honest about that. So when I started jiu-jitsu in the gi, like a lot of people, I was a closet 10th planet person. I'd watch the YouTube videos, I'd hear Eddie, you know, whether it was talking about how great Marcelo Garcia is or breaking down the truck after Alan Belcher's huge upset against Fusimar Palhares. I watched all those videos. I watched Mastering the System, all that good stuff. People ask me all the time, am I ready for EBI 14? Are you nervous? It's like, no, that's gonna be the easy part. I got through EBI qualifiers. It's against a bunch of other 10th planet people, like a bunch of magicians showing each other magic tricks. Oh, here's crackhead control, so. Here's vaporizer, so. So it's like, I got through that. At the end of the day, we're just like, why don't we just double banana split each other and call it a day? So to answer your question, I'm looking forward to putting on a show at EBI 14. I'm not nervous. Yeah, so when I first saw EBI from the beginning, EBI 1, I just wanted to be part of the movement. I was a fan, I wanted to get involved. I'm doing all of this training to get the payoff of my peers and family appreciating what I do. And for my future self, when my body breaks down and I can't do jiu-jitsu anymore, I want those trophies on the mantle and all those memories, all those photos, all those videos. I mean, of course we love you know, all the Instagram and Facebook and showing our art to the world, things going viral. Of course it's for that. And any guy who says it's not, they're lying. I'm not here to call people out, I'm here for the art. But you know, when your president or your general calls you to go to Vietnam, you go. And I'm gonna go there and represent and surprise a lot of people, because I believe I'm part of the new wave of jiu-jitsu, and we are going to take over as 10th Planet, and he's put it on my shoulders now to go forward his mission. So as far as what it takes to get into EBI, as somebody who's a relative unknown, I don't have a big name in the jiu-jitsu community. There's obviously the tangibles of showing up every day, putting in your work, understanding the rule set, sharpening up your back control and spider web armbar, specific for EBI, learning leg locks. That's something that EBI has taught us. But beyond those, you know, really actionable things, it's about self-belief. My coaches have taught me everything they know, all their skill sets, whether it's Eddie Bravo, Eric Ramey, or Luis Quinos for wrestling even. They give me the tools and the skill sets and add on my physicality. I was, you know, telling myself on the car ride here that I'm gonna beat any man in the world. On the flight to Austin, I'm gonna beat any man in the world.
One of the most devastating leg lockers I've ever encountered, Karan Garabedian, returns to EBI, this time in the absolutes.
My name is Karan Garabedian. I've been training since I was 5 years old. Started training jiu-jitsu when I was 13. I train out of the highest MMA Academy in North Hollywood. And I've been doing it for about 17 years now, grappling. This is pretty much the headquarters of highest MMA Academy. This school is run by Gokor Chevichan, also Jean LaBelle. So the lineage comes from Sensei Jean LaBelle, then Sensei Gokor, and they passed it down to me, so I'm trying to take the torch now. So I started doing judo and grappling at the age of 13. So after that, once my striking and all of that came together, I started doing MMA. I got into MMA when I was 18. I'm still actively fighting in MMA. I've beat a bunch of notable names. I've beat one of the best guys in the world right now at 155. So I've been around the game a long time. About 2 weeks before EBI, I think 11, I really messed up my knee, and I couldn't walk on it for a couple of days, so I had to pull out. But this one, I mean, Eddie asked me if I want to do absolute. I said, hell yeah, I'm up for it. Let's go. And I don't have to cut weight, so that's a good thing about not having to cut weight. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. So. Honestly, I'm going in there with an open mind. I'm obviously the lighter guy. I think my speed and just my flexibility will play a big role into overwhelming these guys and possibly getting the tap or tiring them out. I feel like just with their big size, it'll be hard for them to catch me. So I'm gonna go out there, give it a mile. You know, it's not gonna be easy to wear me out. I think with the lighter guys, it's harder to catch them because of all the scrambles. The bigger guys, they're a little bit slower and they take their time. I mean, not that it's easier. I mean, their legs are a lot bigger, so it's harder to catch their legs. But I feel like a lot of these long and big guys, the inside heel hook will always be there. So I'm looking into going after legs, and I'm comfortable giving my legs. Well, it's just the size. I mean, if they're bigger, they have a lot more muscle in that leg to resist. But just depending on the type of leg lock you get. I mean, if you get any nice inside heel hook, I feel like any leg will pop out. So it's not going to be any different than any small guy, but obviously the size and strength will play a big factor into it. I feel like my style is more of an aggressor style, but just the fact that I'm going to go up against heavier guys, I don't know if I'm going to be quite the aggressor, but I'm still going to go in there trying to be aggressive. So I'm going to try to push my pace. I'm gonna try to impose my will. So I'm gonna try to be as fast as I can, trying to go after the takedowns, go after position, try to control as much as I can. One thing I don't wanna do is I don't wanna be on the bottom with these big guys. You know, I don't wanna lay on my back. So I'm gonna try to be off my back as much as I can. But yeah, I've been working all aspects of jiu-jitsu, whether it's stand-up, wrestling, or on the ground. So everything's stacked up against me, so I'm just going in there to have fun. You know, I'm trying to showcase all my skills. If I could get a quick tap, great. If not, you know, for sure they'll know they're going up against someone pretty tough. So I'm not gonna be any slash for any of these big guys. They'll know they're in a match. I'm really looking forward to using my judo skills against these guys. So we'll see how it all play out. I think at this level, it takes all of it. You know, this is not a beginning level. You have guys that have been training the system for so long. Everybody's pretty much up to date on everything. So I think all of it plays a big role. You know, size, strength, technique. Without any of those, you're not gonna be able to compete. Anytime when you're in competition, especially when you have students, they all look up to you. So you're not trying to look bad. EBI is pretty much the platform that put grappling on the map, and especially the leg lock guys. Without EBI, I don't think the leg lock game would have blew up the way it did. So I think it's the premier grappling league right now as far as sub-only tournaments go. So for you to win EBI, that is like a world thing because you get some of the best guys coming into EBI. So I'm very fortunate that Eddie considered me even go into the absolutes. Just can't wait to come in and showcase my skills. I think to bring the EBI belt back to this gym would be huge. You know, I think it'll be the biggest gift to the school, especially with Christmas around the corner.
My name's Andy Burke. I've been training for 10 years in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I train out of Victory MMA in San Diego, California. I've competed in Fight to Win Pro, had a victory over Jesse Taylor. I've won Prove of Grounds Invitational, has the EBI setup Won that twice. I'm a 2-time champion in the absolute, the open weight division. I won Gracie Worlds this year, and that's how I kind of got into EBI. Rose hooked me up with Eddie, and there I go. EBI, it's, you know, that's the top of the top right now. And you get all the best competitors going in there and competing, and that's it. You know, I want to go against the best, and I'm going to go against them. No points, that's more my style. I like to attack, 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 so I don't really care about the points. And I do that in regular tournaments anyway, so EBI rules just makes it a lot easier. You don't have to even worry about letting someone get the back or whatever, or any points, and you just go for it. You know, just keep attacking. That's my style, and that's what I like to do. Finish everybody. Who cares about points or rules or whatever else is going on? You're just attacking. The win is a submission, and that's it. And you know, with Dean Lister being a pioneer of leg locks and Glover being a choke master, it develops a great game. But with Glover coming in, you know, 4 years ago, my choke game has got real strong. You know, using his darces and his guillotines, so I got all of it. You know, it's always go, go, go. There's no rest, there's no stopping and stalling and holding people down. It's just a flow roll 100%. And submissions come from everywhere. So you just gotta keep on your toes and know all your submission defenses, and everything's there. Yeah, leg locks have been picking up the last couple of years, and you've seen Danaher, you know, death squad just ripping everybody's feet off. But you know, even Danaher learned his leg locks from Dean. He's even admitted it, and it's a great time that I get to train with Dean, and I've been training with him for the last 7 years now, and I've just picked up a lot of his leg lock techniques, and I think it's going to help me out a lot in this EBI Absolute tournament. You know that going into the tournament, you got to go in there and submit, or they're going to be submitting you, and you got to go for broke. You know, it's live by the sword, die by the sword. Go for it. And you know, I just kind of feel it out. If you know, I got to go headstrong and bowl over him, I'm going to. And if I have to play a little more easily and kind of feel it out, I'll play some games and I'll find my submission. It'll be there. Anything that makes them tap, I like all of them. I can go from arm locks to leg locks to chokes to triangles to whatever I can find, wrist locks, anything. I'm gonna take it. It's just gonna be a battle no matter what. You know, walking into, you know, when you're having 4 matches to win it all, and you need 4 submissions to win all the money, and you know, that's what I'm going for. I'm going for that 20K. And you know, it's that first match, that's it. That's all I got my mind focused on. First match, finish them as fast as I can, so I'm ready for the next one. And that's it, just stay calm, stay ready, and just stay focused, because my body's gonna be ready for all 4 rounds, so it don't matter to me. I'm just gonna walk in calm, cool, and collected and just get some.
EBI 9 veteran Adam Sachnoff returns to EBI with one of the best guards in the world and incredible chokes.
At the last EBI I did the light heavyweights, I won my first match. I dominated in regulation. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the submission, but I got a real quick finish in my first overtime round. So it was a good match. Overall, I was a little disappointed that I couldn't get the sub in regulation, and then I ended up going against Gary Tonin, who unfortunately he caught me, so I lost that match in the quarterfinals. But you know, it was still a pretty good match. I've corrected my mistakes, and I've been working real hard on my cardio, which is kind of what I felt was holding back last EBI. Most recently, I was just a couple of months back in September, was winning the 2017 Onnit Heavyweight Invitational Tournament. I got like $4 grand for that. I got a sponsorship with Onnit. Thank you, Onnit, for all the awesome stuff that you've been sending me. And also, like, one of the really important things about that last win, the Onnit Invitationals, is like that was like one of my first like gigantic, like big wins after I had my knee surgery. The overtime rounds, you know, I think they're easy. You know, I like armbar offense, armbar defense, back defense. Those are some of my strongest positions. So if we get there, you're gonna be in trouble. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it. I would say that generally the back is going to be much better for ride time and control. It's definitely going to be the safer option. Also for the guys with the longer body type that can easily lock a body lock, it's going to be a real solid position. It's going to be real tough for the other guy to get out. But with that being said, I think we're seeing more recently, we're seeing a lot of like wins and upsets come from the armbar position, and it looks like people are starting to really get on point with that spiderweb control. Honestly, I think that competing in the absolute is not a challenge. I think that's going to favor me. I've never lost to anyone heavier than me in a competition. So, you know, as far as like the bigger guys, like I'm generally faster and more technical. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. And I don't have to worry about the weight cut. So I'm really looking forward to this absolute tournament. Jiu-jitsu is everything. Jiu-jitsu is my life. I've dedicated my life. I've dropped out of college. This is all I know. I do this because even all of the crap that we have to deal with, all the bullshit we have to deal with, all the injuries, all the uncertainty, the risk, there's nothing else that I'd rather be doing. I love jiu-jitsu, I love teaching, I love competing, I love all the people, and I just couldn't see myself waking up every day, going to a desk job, you know, work 8, 12 hours a day just to line somebody else's pocket up for a little bit of profit. That's why I do jiu-jitsu. You know, I would say that jiu-jitsu, training, teaching, competing, it is my life, and I would say pretty much all I do. You know, people ask me what kind of hobbies I have. Sometimes it's hard to answer because once I tell them jiu-jitsu, I don't really know what else to say. You know, I guess I'm a jiu-jitsu dork, maybe a little bit boring, but I love jiu-jitsu, and you know, like there's a thought out there that we should all be like very well rounded and like developed, and we should have all these like separate interests and stuff like that, but I only care about the things that I really care about, and that's jiu-jitsu. I've been getting really good with the back takes. I finished 2 of my matches at the Onnit Invitational, so expect some RNCs coming from me. You know, I've also got a mean go-go plata, so expect a lot of finishes. I'm looking to get that sub in regulation. I want that money.
The biggest competitor in this EBI comes to us from Nice Guy Submission Fighting, Jesseray Childrey.
Originally, I wanted to start fighting MMA. Had a lot of amateur fights, a lot of pro fights, and then I ended up getting injured. When I started coming back, I stuck with just jiu-jitsu, and just found out I liked that a lot more than fighting and getting punched in the face. It just felt more natural to me. I wrestled in high school. Always been kind of a big kid and wrestling around with other kids and just playing around. It was a much easier transition. I enjoyed it more. Just felt natural. I'm a big guy that likes to move. I used to like to wrestle or grapple like a little guy all the time just because it's fun. You know, I've played around with twisters and lockdown and like some like 10th Planet kind of stuff, and then leg lock game really kind of developed, and you don't see a ton of big guys out there going for the legs. So I've gotten pretty used to getting beat on and beat up and like putting pressure down on me and like playing my bottom game a lot more to get used to those types of things. Like you're not always going to be in the best position, you're not always going to dominate from start to finish, so you got to be used to getting down and dirty and being uncomfortable. And money's great. I think it's awesome how the sport has grown and competitors are able to get paid now and you know, make a living off of jiu-jitsu. But if I wasn't getting paid or had the opportunity to cash, I would still want to do jiu-jitsu and compete in jiu-jitsu. It's just in my nature to be a competitor, but money definitely sweetens the pot. So I think it's definitely going to be exciting. EBI is you know always exciting. So, but with some bigger guys, I think there's going to be a bit more grinding. Some big guys may have tried to enforce that against the smaller guys. Just to get to the overtime, or you know, there's a lot of people that game plan to get to overtime now, so I don't think that's too exciting, but yeah, as long as people remember my match and like say, hey man, you did great, like I can't wait to see your next one, what do you got coming up, and like, you know, that's exciting. You know, the wins will come, but I really want to be a fan favorite as well.
Texas grappling star and BJJ black belt Travis Moore returns to EBI.
I've been training now for 10 years. I've been training off and on in the area I was born in, which is Temple, Texas. I lived in Killeen, Texas for several years. I've traveled all over Texas to train. I've experienced in a lot of different jiu-jitsu academies. I've trained a little bit in 10th Planet. I've trained a little bit in traditional Gracie jiu-jitsu. I've tried to expose myself to all kinds of the jiu-jitsu there is. I love it all. I've been to wrestling heavy schools, judo heavy schools, sambo schools, just soaking up all the knowledge I can. Now I run and coach my own academy, but I still get plenty of time to cross-train. I have access to all the large cities. We have Dallas, Austin, Houston, San Antonio. So I travel as much as I can during the day. I run my own academy in the evening. I've been doing this now for about 10 years. I've been seriously competing for about all 10 years, but I'd say within the last 5, I've really seen my competition skyrocket, competing against some of the best guys in Texas and now some of the best guys in the world. I got started in jiu-jitsu because I was a big fan of the UFC. I would not miss a UFC fight. I loved watching the UFC. It was great. Loved watching fights, and then one day I decided I'd go try out a gym. The gym I tried was a pure MMA gym. I didn't really like it, and at the time I was going to school, I was in college. My professor had recommended trying out a jiu-jitsu class, tried it out, fell in love instantly. Competed 3 weeks in, did great, and the rest is history. Just kept training and keeping at it. The sport's changed a lot since I first started. Here in Texas, I know in other states it's probably even smaller. Texas is huge, but there'd only be a couple tournaments a year. A lot of the training taking place was only gi. A lot of people weren't open to training in no gi. Those that were more MMA based. I also have an MMA base. I have 7 MMA fights. But really, I always loved jiu-jitsu. I just never thought there was a large future in jiu-jitsu, which is why I was doing MMA originally. And now it's just blown up. There's a tournament every weekend out here in Texas, which is great. I try to do as many as I can of that. They also have all the professional shows going on. There's a huge audience for jiu-jitsu now. It used to be a real niche. Now it seems to be becoming more and more mainstream, where you have people that might not even watch MMA that just watch jiu-jitsu. So it's been great to see the growth. And it's been a great year for growth and everything else. EBI has inspired me to become a better athlete, and it's kind of full circle because here we are again, back on EBI, and hopefully all this hard training, all the work I put in shows on December 3rd. I've had over 26 competition matches this year, and just non-stop working on things. And I made it a point this year that I was going to compete in every division I could against the best guys I could, accept any pro match that was offered to me, and go out there and not just train what I'm good at, but sometimes in these matches try things I wasn't good at. That way I could make myself better and be more prepared for all opponents. And I did that this year. I trained extremely hard, went to more open mats than I've ever gone to, watched more videos than I've ever watched, and also competed more than I've ever competed in my whole career. I love the overtime rounds, you know. I coach a lot, so I get exposure to a lot of different tournaments, and something I hate referee decisions, because no matter what anyone says, you could have the greatest referees in the world, but there always seems to be a bias. I've seen matches that are dubbed sub only, and you have a guy that threw on 10 subs, but the other guy controlled the position. Sometimes they give it to the position guy because they're IBJJF players. I've seen tournaments where it's just scored on who's more aggressive. Well, how do you deem who's more aggressive, you know? I love the EBI overtime rounds because they're so conclusive. You have a winner, you're having a shootout. You have the 2 basic positions of jiu-jitsu. You have the back, and you have the spider web, the arm bar, and it's a shootout. Who's going to get that submission first? Who's going to hold that position the best? And I love it because it's a true conclusion to the match. There's no, oh man, this referee saw it this way, this referee saw it this way. No, It's up to you to win it. It's on you. You have an equal chance to your opponent to win that match, and I love it. No points or anything like that. It's just the best grappler winning. Who's the best at the two crucial positions to jiu-jitsu. Every EBI, you learn something new. I don't want to give up too much of my game plan, but I've learned be ready for anything. Watching the overtimes though, I've added a ton of training getting out of the back position, attacking the back position, attacking the spider web, defending the spider web. But especially since the first EBI and everyone you watch, you learn leg locks are crucial. But guys are doing a lot more than just leg locking. I mean, you got to train a little bit of everything. And developing a game plan is awesome, but really you have so many guys with different grappling styles, it's hard to know what game plan you're going to go with. So being prepared for anything, training a little bit of everything, is kind of what I've adopted for my training in this camp up for this one. Challenges to competing in an absolute tournament are definitely different than you fight someone in your weight class. Me being a guy, I usually like to compete at 185. Right now I'm around a 200-pound guy. You're going to have guys that are naturally a lot bigger, so naturally they're going to be a lot stronger. When you compete at your own weight class, for someone like me, I always feel like I overpower the guys, but that's not going to be the case this time. So I've had to make sure I up my cardio, up my conditioning. I have upped my strength training. But it's unrealistic to believe I'll be stronger than a lot of these guys. So I've been relying a lot more on my technique. In my training, I've made sure some days I come in super exhausted, so I can't outpower anybody. Even the guys that are my size, I've had to just rely on technique to stay alive, you know? So of course, fighting in an absolute division does change a little bit, but it's, at the end of the day, it's still jiu-jitsu, you know? And I still fully believe the best jiu-jitsu will win regardless of size.
The tallest competitor in this tournament comes to us from Texas, Andrew Kimler.
Well, about seven and a half years ago, I was diagnosed. I was pre-diabetic, and I was overweight, pretty big, and I decided I didn't want to feel like crap anymore, so I started working out. And I ended up finding jiu-jitsu through my uncle. My uncle at the time was a blue belt, and he introduced me to jiu-jitsu, and I just fell in love with it from day one, and just, you know, committed to it, and pretty much from then on, my life has been jiu-jitsu. So when I first started, I think there was a lot of barambolos, and now we're evolved to more of like a leg lock oriented game. I like it. It's more like the sub-only style. I like it more than points. You can like kind of go for stuff a lot more than you normally would. Training MMA and training jiu-jitsu, martial arts, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I competed in MMA. I've had 5 MMA fights, all of them victories, all of them except one in the first round. I had a second round knee bar, but yeah, all of them were finishes. So I'm looking to go pro pretty soon. I signed with LFA. So. Expect a big guy with technical jiu-jitsu, a lot of flexibility, pretty unorthodox for a bigger guy. I don't think people are ready for a person of my size and technique and flexibility. In general, I've been training a lot of leg lock positions, a lot of entries to the 411 or honey hole. I feel like my leg lock game has stepped up immensely. Also, the different positions, the back mount and the armbar position from that EBI overtime rule set. So. I really try not to think about like how much time does jiu-jitsu take up in my life, because it's more like how much does my life consist of jiu-jitsu. I don't think like, oh my God, I have to spend 2 hours in class today of training, of rolling, of drilling. It's like, I get to do that. That's like, you know, what I want to do. What else would I be doing, you know, if it wasn't for training jiu-jitsu? The whole culture, the whole atmosphere of jiu-jitsu is great. You can go to any gym in the world and just say you train jiu-jitsu and they'll let you in. You know, you don't have that with any other martial art. That's what I love about jiu-jitsu. I don't really do this for the money or the title. I do this because I love it. Like, I mean, that's pretty much it. This is my passion. This is what I do. But if I had the money, that's a good thing to have. $20,000 is pretty nice. I'd probably pay off my car for sure. I don't know what else. Maybe travel, train jiu-jitsu more. You know, more money's nice.
Guys, I just got back from a 2-hour drive in Houston at this place called, training at this place called Darkside, and it's run by Victor Pozis. I've been training there for about 2 years. It's a good place to cross-train. I've trained there maybe once or twice, maybe 3-4 times a month. Also been training at this place called Revolution Dojo in Katy. Jeff Messina runs it. There's a lot of bigger guys there for me to roll with. It's just good to get that cross-training in and just different roles in. I love it. It's I pass the time. 2 hours is a little bit, it's a good drive, but I pass the time listening to podcasts right now. You can see I'm listening to the UFC Unfiltered podcast with Matt Serra and Jim Norton. I love those guys. It's a great podcast. I also listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, Joey Diaz's podcast, Punch Drunk, 10-minute podcast. There's a lot of podcasts I listen to a lot. It just helps the drive. Right now I'm about to see my beautiful girlfriend and have a Onnit hemp protein shake. So, yep, that's about it. This is another day of training. So, see y'all at Onnit.
EBI 9 veteran Daniel O'Brien returns to EBI as one of the most unorthodox grapplers in EBI history.
My name is Daniel O'Brien. I'm a second-degree black belt at Triad Martial Arts, and I've been training for 14 years. I train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I train in Karate-Do, I also train in Ballet Tudo. I got started in Jiu-Jitsu because I started training in Karate, and when we were doing sparring during the Karate class, our school also offered Jiu-Jitsu, and the Jiu-Jitsu guys that I sparred would just absorb all my punches and grab me and take me down, and I would feel helpless. So we started doing Jiu-Jitsu to, allow my stand-up fighting to be a little bit more proficient. Jiu-Jitsu for me has changed a lot since I first started. It used to be a lot more brutal, a lot more hard on my body. Now it feels a lot easier. I really try to focus on the effortlessness behind things, the longevity behind Jiu-Jitsu. Since the last time I competed at EBI, I've been traveling, doing several seminars, focusing on building up my school, helping my students, really been training and improving myself a lot, analyzing some of the mistakes, the things that I thought I could do better in the last EBI. My last experience competing at EBI, I was able to get a lot of good experience. My first match, I was able to get a submission in early on against a highly decorated opponent. My second match, I was able to, get my feet wet going into some of the overtime matches against another skilled opponent, and I got lucky, came out on top in that one. In my third match, I went up against Gary Tonin, and obviously he went on to advance. We went 3 overtime rounds. He beat me in the long overtime. I got a lot of experience in the overtime rounds. What I took from it was, obviously I made mistakes, things I could do better, but I realized that nothing really took me by surprise. I felt like I belonged there. I haven't really developed much of a game plan. I've been working a lot on my rear naked choke approach, trying to make that a little bit more secure, just trying to tighten up all my submissions and the opportunities that I missed during the last EBI, trying to capitalize more and not allow my opponents so much room to get away. EBI is one of the best tournaments in the world. I think, the reason I accept an invitation like this is because they've only invited the best guys. This is the best EBI they've had so far, the toughest EBI, some of the toughest guys on here. I'm excited to compete in this EBI.
Representing Unity Jiu-Jitsu, BJJ Black Belt Tex Johnson returns to EBI.
My name is Aaron Tex Johnson. I'm a black belt under Marcel Goncalves in Unity Jiu-Jitsu. I train Taekwondo, got a black belt in that when I was younger, and now I've been doing jiu-jitsu for the past 12 years. Thinking about an absolute division with the smaller guys, you don't want to be too complacent with them and too relaxed or not willing to overpower them, and you can't get unaggressive with the bigger guys. Since I play such a smaller game, I can't allow myself to get smashed into positions that I like to play. Last time I went to EBI, I cut from 235 to 185. I got horribly sick before the match, which is not an excuse for my poor performance. I didn't stick to my game plan, and I had a lapse, and now I'm back. I'm not gonna cut so much weight anymore. For competition is one of the game plans that I've been going to. I've also been training a lot with Murillo on specific game plans for me, and not so much like playing in other people's games and me being first. So to me, jiu-jitsu is kind of like the greatest sport in the world. It's a team sport, but it's an individual sport like wrestling, where no matter what, you have all the blame for everything. And you're the only one to blame for your poor comings or your good comings. Now that I'm training at Unity and I'm training around guys like Merle Santana and the Young Twins, it kind of just takes over your life. Even when I'm teaching, I'm thinking about training. When I'm at home, I'm thinking about past positions I could have done better at, better drilling techniques. So my life is pretty consumed all day with training, regardless of thinking about it or actually doing it. I plan on having the same results as always and going in there to win. I can always plan to win, but I can't have expectations.
I won ADCC this past year, took second in the absolute. I won multiple EBIs, three different weight classes, so that was fun.
I'm honored to accept the invitation for EBI again because it's one of the greatest events in the world, and it's an invitation only. You know, to be invited in between 6 guys throughout the best in the world, it's such a good pleasure, good honor.
Winning's great. You know, showcasing my ability and my presence in the world is great, but man, the community and the people you meet is just, there's nothing else like it in the world. So I think that's what attracts me the most to it.
And you know, American Jiu-Jitsu, I think guys are, all the American grapplers, they're doing great. You know, they're winning world titles, they're winning Abu Dhabi, you know, so we're not behind. I think we're leading the sport now.
EBI rules just makes it a lot easier. You don't have to even worry about letting someone get the back or whatever, or any points, and you just go for it.
You know, self-belief and stepping up to the plate when it's your time. That's what it takes to get into EBI 14.
Large percentage are more likely to hunt the sub because at the end of the day, you could rack up 5 minutes of ride time to start the round, but the next guy comes out and he fires off a submission, it's over.
Everybody wants to do well and get a submission. I need a submission on my highlight at EBI, so hopefully I can get a submission this time.
I'm just going to be going for it a little more. You know, ADCC is a points tournament, and like, you know, you got to be prepared for that and know that game. But sub only is definitely more fast-paced, going for it, looking to win.
I've been able to develop my game to a bit of a higher level, and especially having beat some of the guys I beat this year, it's definitely improved my confidence level fighting the bigger names.
Even people outside of our community will know who I am after EBI.